I now declare the opening of council meeting at 6 p.m. Good evening, councillors, staff, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting today is being held on Whadjuk Noongar Budja, and I would like to acknowledge and pay my respects to elders past, present and future. I thank all past and present members of the community that have supported the city to better understand and value Noongar culture within the city of Wanneroo. I invite you to bow your head in prayer. Lord, we thank you for blessing our city, our community and our council. Guide us in our decision-making to act fairly, without fear or favour, and with compassion, integrity, wisdom and honesty. May we show true leadership, be inclusive of all, and guide all of the city's people and many families to a prosperous future that all may share. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Please note that the audio-visual proceedings of tonight's meetings will be live, broadcast online, with the exception of matters discussed behind closed doors. The broadcast of the proceedings of the meeting can be accessed live and on demand through the City of Wanneroo YouTube channel. Item 1, attendances are as per the record. Item 2, apologies and leave of absence. I have a leave of absence from Councillor Wright, a leave of absence from Councillor Baker, and an apology from Councillor Nguyen. I also have a new request for a leave of absence for Councillor Rowe from the 12th of September to the 5th of October. Can I have a mover for that, please? Yes, Councillor Civic and Deputy Mayor Treby. Are there any speakers against? If there are no speakers against, could we, councillors, please cast your vote? And I believe that is passed unanimously. Item 3, public question and statement time. Do we have any public questions tonight? Nil. Okay. Gentlemen in the gallery, are you going to be asking questions of council this evening? No, it doesn't look like you want to ask questions. Okay, well then I won't go through the general question rules if we're not going to have any questions from the gallery. And we don't have any notices in writing. So we go to... Oh dear, we'll discuss it offline, council. Confirmation of minutes, item 4. We have 3 sets of minutes, one from the 12th of June, one from the 20th of June and one from the 4th of July, and I want to move them en bloc. Do I have a councillor? Yes, Deputy Mayor Treby and Councillor Rowe. Do I have any speakers against the minutes that are presented this evening? If there are no speakers against the minutes, councillors, please cast your vote. And that was passed unanimously. Item 5, announcements by the Mayor without discussion. Well, I have wonderful announcements to make tonight. And first of all, the Australasian Reporting Awards, ARA Gold Award, for its 2021-22 annual report. The City of Wanneroo has won its 7th Australasian Reporting Awards Gold Award for its 2021-22 annual report. This is the 6th consecutive gold award achieved by the city, following on from a silver and another gold, demonstrating a consistently high standard of reporting excellence. The ARA provides Australasian organisations an opportunity to benchmark their reports against the ARA criteria, which are based on world best practice. The achievement of a gold award recognises the very high standard to which the city's report meets the ARA criteria and makes it a model report for all other organisations to follow. So we are leaders in this field, everyone, and I just want us to congratulate, and the director in charge, Nolene, you're coming down to collect the award. Anyone can take a photo?
Our official photographer, Natasha.
Thank you. Congratulations, and please congratulate your team for all they do. And we're really doing well tonight because we have another award. Aquamotion is the Swim School of the Year award. The City recently submitted a nomination in the annual Aquatic and Recreation Industry Awards presented by Leisure Institute of WA, the peak industry body for aquatic facilities in WA. The City's nomination was for the Aquamotion Swim School program in the Swim School of the Year category. This award recognises exceptional performance in delivery of Learn to Swim programs for the community. I am pleased to advise that the City was successful in winning the award. The Aquamotion Swim School program has recorded amazing results in recent times with 1,900 enrolments, including 200 in the Unique Dolphins program, specifically for people living with disabilities. Congratulations to the wonderful team at Aquamotion. This award is more recognition for the City's commitment to high quality service provision for our community. Come on, Dan, come on down. Mr. Webb, come on down. Congratulations and once again thanks to all. Item 6, questions from council members. Do we have any questions from council members related to the agenda this evening? If there are no questions, we move to item 7, petitions. There is one petition to receive tonight, and I think Councillor Parker has it.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a petition from 33 residents which states, request to have the exit for the Department of Transport building in Butler relocated and traffic management implemented for Devlin Lane, Butler. High volume of traffic from and to the Department of Transport on Devlin Lane is creating a traffic hazard for local young children, residents and pedestrians passing through the laneway, such as residents of the MS Centre. Some residents have stated that there have already been near-miss incidents involving pets and children. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. Do I have a seconder for this petition? Councillor Smith? Yes. Are there any speakers against this item? If there are no speakers against this item, I just ask that we move and receive this petition. And that was passed unanimously. We have update on petitions UPO 1723 regarding the former Queen's Rocks Caravan Park redevelopment and UPO 2723, the request to avoid speed bumps to Dale Cross Avenue, Madeley, and those updates are provided in the agenda. Yes, Councillor Miles?
Just 2 points. I noticed when we did the vote, we actually voted for this item, not the previous one where I thought we were voting for new petitions received.
We were voting solely for the petition we received.
Okay, because the number, the UPO 10723 came up on the screen when we were voting.
Okay, I've got PT 01723 is the petition, and UPO 1723 is the petition that is in the agenda.
All right, thank you. My other question is in regard to the UPO 10723 with the update. It does state in the update that a report will be prepared in response to petition to be tabled at the special council meeting held no later than the 26th of September. But I understand we've already set a date for that particular meeting. So will the petitioners be advised that when that meeting is coming to us?
Yes, they will, and the special council meeting will be announced at the end here, but that will be 6:30 p.m. on the 1st of August. Mr CEO, would you like to speak further to that item?
No, Madam Mayor, I think you answered both questions from Councillor Miles. The date and the petitioners will be advised.
Declarations of interest by council members, including the nature and extent of which the interests are to be made at the commencement of the item to which the interest relates. Declarations of interest forms are to be completed and handed in to the Chief Executive Officer. So we go to item 8, reports, and we'll start with Planning and Sustainability, PSO 10723, consideration of amendments to Local Planning Policy 4.19, medium density housing standards, in brackets R to MD, close bracket, following advertising. Do I have a mover for this item? Yes, Councillor Miles. Do I have a seconder? Yes, Councillor Civic. Councillor Miles, would you like to speak to this item?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. The report does articulate exactly what we're attempting to do on new subdivisions that come towards council. We have noticed with some of the R coding, there are some challenges with some of the housing setbacks, especially for garages, mainly for garages, where in some instances where you might have a footpath at the front of your home, and that will limit how the size of the vehicle is in length to be able to park on your portion of the driveway. So this policy will help mediate some of that, as well as I'm hoping some of the proposed R code changes.
Thank you, Councillor Miles. Councillor Civic, would you like to speak to this item?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I certainly concur with Councillor Miles on this item. Just want to make a couple of points with regards. I'm not really keen on the R codes the way they are. I'm glad administration have come up with this this particular item. I happen to pass through Mount Hawthorn, where the area is being recoded, and some of the large lots there are being split in half and sold on, etc. And on many occasions through that area, I've seen cars parked in the driveways because the actual setbacks now are a lot closer to the front boundary, and the point that's being made by administration is that these cars parking there in front of their garages are actually protruding into the footpath, which is a real problem, and the fact that there's not much parking on the street. So I certainly endorse this item, and I think we're going to have to look at this in the future and make sure that we have good harmony with the R codes, if at all the Department of Planning change that in time. So I'm certainly happy with the recommendation, and I urge councillors to vote accordingly.
Thank you, Councillor Civic. Do I have any speakers against this item? If I have no speakers against this item, councillors, please cast your vote. And that's passed unanimously. We now go to item PSO 20723, consideration of development application for a change of use to place of worship at 5 Mangano Place, Wanneroo. And I have a mover, Councillor Civic. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Miles. Councillor Civic, do you wish to speak to this item?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yes, thank you, Mayor. Briefly, this is within my ward. I see the applicant is Drukpa Australia Incorporated, and they're looking to put a church or a place of worship on this particular site. Administration's report on this is clear. It meets the requirements in terms of what is permissible in this particular area. I do understand the residents were up in arms about this. There was a function carried on at this particular premises when I believe it was purchased by the applicant. The conditions that are imposed on this particular item are quite strict, and I certainly am in support. There is restrictions to 68 people being on the site at any one time when it becomes a place of worship, and also there are parking restrictions alongside Calabrese Avenue and Mangano Way. I do see one of the neighbours in the gallery is here this evening. Administration have addressed the car parking requirements for this particular area. But the point I want to make is that some time ago there was the application for a funeral parlour just down the road, and the community certainly objected to that. Not much has happened since then. That business is operating smoothly, even though that there is an exodus of motor vehicles through the estate. It's managed well. We haven't had any complaints on it. And if there is any problems with this particular development in time, administration's conditions are that we can control this. So I am in support of it as it is, because it is a non-conforming use, also meets the requirements for a church. But if it is refused by council, the applicant has the right to put an application into the State Administrative Tribunal, and I believe that they'll probably get that if that was the case, and that it would be a last resort. So I think the report is well written by administration and meets all the criteria. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Civic. And Councillor Miles, would you like to speak to this item?
Mayor, I'm happy with the way the report has been written. I also am very happy with the recommendations provided in the report by administration, limiting the size of the congregation, and if they do need to expand and they become larger, then obviously they'll just need to come back to council and apply for a larger application to include a larger amount of people on site. The only part of it I was somewhat a little bit miffed by was the Monday to Friday operating times. This is in an area of industrial commercial area, so I would have thought it would have normally complied with the normal business hours of those businesses nearby. It is opposite on Villanova. It is opposite a garage which is open all hours and is lit up like a Christmas tree. So I wish the worship centre well, and I think as Councillor Civic has indicated, on that same street, the funeral home was alarmed. A lot of people were alarmed by that, and that's actually been able to have a low impact for its residents going forward, especially parking. So I wish them well.
Thank you, Councillor Miles. Are there any speakers against this item? Yes, Deputy Mayor Treby, you have a question?
Thank you, Mayor Can I actually have two questions? Firstly, and the question is asked by way of clarification. If through you, Mayor, the Director of Planning, just confirming the status of the conditions as the report is likely to be approved with respect to the total number of persons and the operating hours. Any breach of those statuses, because it's a lawful direction, any breach of those standards would require compliance actions from the city upon notification of a breach? Is that so? Sorry, yes. Okay.
Deputy Mayor Treby, thank you. Mr Dixon, would you like to respond to that, please?
Through you, Mayor, yes. So if there are conditions imposed, if there is a breach of those conditions and the city receives a complaint or is informed of a breach of those conditions, the city would then investigate and take appropriate compliance action to ensure that the operation is in accordance with the approval granted.
Thank you, Mr Dixon. Do you have another question, Deputy Mayor?
One further question. And should the application be not considered appropriate and refused, the applicant, my understanding is the applicant would have appeal rights through to the State Administrative Tribunal, where there runs a significant risk of the application being reviewed and potentially, and most likely, approved with the absence of any conditions. Would that be the case?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Treby. Mr Dixon.
Mayor, it's hard for me to speculate what conditions may or may not be imposed through a SAT appeal. Typically, in SAT-related matters, there are less conditions than the conditions that the city chooses to impose, but it's hard for me to speculate on what might not be included in any approval through SAT.
Thank you, Mr Dixon, and you have another question,
One
Deputy Mayor.
further follow-up question, if I can ask the question this way. Is it more likely than not, in response to that last response, that the conditions that are placed in front of us this evening would be less likely to be imposed by the State Administrative Tribunal because they'd be hearing it de novo?
Thank you, Mr Dixon.
It's hard for me to answer, again, that question specifically. Typically, in my experience through SAT decisions, it's they impose less than more conditions on an application that they approve.
Thank you, Mr Dixon. Do I have any speakers against? I'm sorry, you can't, we need to debate this. No, I'm sorry, you can't speak from the gallery. I'm sorry. Mr Dixon will see you after the meeting. Sir, I am sorry, Mr Dixon will speak with you about that after the meeting, okay? You were given the opportunity in public question time to ask a question and you didn't ask a question about that item. So we will move on. Councillors, please cast, if there's no councillors to speak against this item, could you please cast your vote? And that was passed unanimously. We now go on to assets, ASO 10723, response to petition PTO 20523, requesting pedestrian accessway closure between Feather Top Rise and the Avenue Alexander Heights. Yes, Deputy Mayor Treby.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move a procedural motion to refer this item back for further and better particulars before Council determines the matter.
Do you have a seconder for this referral? Councillor Rowe. So therefore, without further debate, we will go to the vote. And that the referral back for more information was passed unanimously. We now go to ASO 2723, Contract 21046 Extension, Provision of Cast in Situ Concrete Footpaths and Shared Use Footpaths Crossovers. Do I have a mover for this item? Yes, Councillor Parker. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Herridge. Councillor Parker, would you like to speak to this item?
No, thank you, Mayor. I'm happy with the report as is.
Councillor Herridge, would you like to speak to this item?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Do I have any speakers against this item? If I have no speakers against this item, councillors, please cast your vote. And that was passed unanimously, 11-0. We now move to Community in Place, CPO 10723, the Wanneroo Recreation Centre Sports Hub, concept for design for community engagement. And I have a mover, which is Councillor Civic, and a seconder, which is Councillor Treby. Councillor Civic, would you like to speak to this?
Madam Mayor, I need a declaration.
Yes, Councillor Huntley, if you'd like to do your declaration.
Thank you. I have a declaration for CPO 10723, Wanneroo Recreation Centre Sports Hub Concept Design for Community Engagement. I am the president of the Wanneroo Historical Society, and we meet on the third Monday of the month at the Rec Centre at 1:30. And as a consequence of this, there may be a perception that my impartiality on the matter may be affected, and I declare that I will consider this matter on its merits and vote accordingly.
Thank you, Councillor Huntley. Councillor Civic, would you like to speak to this item?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'm speaking in support of this particular item. It is a concept design for the community engagement process, and look forward to this coming to fruition. The funding is not quite there yet. We've got to sort of go out for more funding on this particular item, but the fact is that the community now will be asked to come in and make comment on this particular site, and I look forward to those comments being made in due course. But I think we're headed in the right direction provision for a new hub and sports hub to be created where the community centre is, and I urge Council to support the recommendation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Savitton. Councillor Deputy Mayor Treby, would you like to speak to this item?
Thank you, Mayor Aitken. Look, I think this is it's a great report and certainly a milestone. This particular facility has been in a degenerative state overall for many, many years. And it's pretty much in its original context and form since it was first constructed. And I think at the time it was constructed, it solved and dealt with and certainly supported a particular level of community need. And I think that level of need has progressed more significantly over time. And I think the time is right, the time is now for the community to be given the opportunity to consider the options that are out there for design. And I think it's a marvellous option and opportunity that we have $5 million from the state government. Should we not progress this, I think there is also a significant risk that that grant money may be lost. So I think the timing on this is quite good, and I think it just going out to the community, letting them have their chance for their say, and it's a significant develop in what is really one of the most and more iconic areas within the city of Wanneroo.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Treby. Do I have any speakers against this item? If I have no speakers against this item, councillors, please cast your vote. And that was passed unanimously. I go to item CP 020723, the East Wanneroo Community Facilities Plan. And do I have a mover for this? Yes, Deputy Mayor Treby, and Councillor Savitton second. Deputy Mayor Treby, do you want to speak to this item?
I think quite briefly, Mayor Aitken, this is pretty much still a new approach to look at the longer term planning, and by long term, it's both multi-generational and multi-year planning for the planning for community and recreational infrastructure. And since this approach has been adopted by through the state government and certainly adopted by council, we've had a much more informed and better opportunity to plan for the longer term provision for these critical and key pieces of community infrastructure. We'll also note in the report that it is somewhat expensive. And it provides the community, because this is a public report, it provides the community with a clear understanding of what the true costs of these facilities are. It also provides the community with the understanding that a part or partial funding does come through from State Planning Policy 3.6 through the Development Contributions Plan. Part of that plan maximises out at $5,000 per lot within the development area. It's also important to note that not only does this plan look at the important and critical community infrastructure that communities expect to see when they buy their properties and invest in their futures for their families, but also provide them an approximate location of where they may be located, and also an approximate understanding of the size, the scale and the proximity as to where they'll be provided over time. It's a staged approach, it's a prudent approach, and I think this is a good piece of work done by administration, and I commend it to council.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Treby. Councillor Savitton, would you like to speak to this item?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I concur with Councillor Treby. This area now is starting to become significant from a Department of Planning point of view, but especially from the city's point of view. All these facilities are going to be required over the next 40 years, and the timing is right now for planning and the city to move towards recognising the sites that we require to provide the facilities for our community within this area. It's very, very important, because if we don't do this now, we're going to be caught in a situation where the developers who are coming in now will be going to the Department of Planning seeking approvals for their land. And we need to have our development contributions scheme in place so that we can actually fund and or go out to get monies funded to us through the relevant groups or sourcing of money. But if we don't do this now, we're going to be caught on the hop. And I commend administration for preparing this now so that we can move forward in a well-organised manner and provide all of those facilities that are on page, I think, see at 137, and it highlights the open space, the multi-hard courts, etc., and all those facilities that we require to make sure the community are serviced well. So I certainly urge Council to support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Civic. And do I have any speakers against this item? If I have no speakers against this item, councillors, please cast your vote. And that was passed unanimously. Item CP 03-723, State Government Funding Commitment, Wanneroo Showgrounds New Dugouts. I have a mover, Councillor Civic, and do I have a seconder for this item? Councillor Huntley. Councillor Civic, would you like to speak to this?
Yes, very briefly, Mayor. I seem to be all in the Central Ward tonight, so it's quite interesting and to have that many in my ward, so and Councillor Wright's ward. Yes, look, the $30,000 that has been granted for the upgrade of the dugouts along on the showgrounds, in unison with the Wanneroo Football Club, is a very important thing. They do require these facilities to certainly keep out of the rain and the cold in the winter months when they need them. So the proper control of the funds through administration is very, very important, and that we work with the Wanneroo Football Club and other users to ensure that they get the best benefit from this funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Civic. And Councillor Huntley, would you like to speak to this item?
Just very quickly, Mayor. Yes, I think this is a long time coming. I think they'll be really happy with this, and I hope everybody will vote yes for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Huntley. Do I have any speakers against this item? If I have no speakers against this item, councillors, please cast your vote. And that is passed unanimously. We now go to CP 04-723, PT 01-523, the petition for fixed CCTV at Waterland Point in Quinns Rocks. I have a mover for this, Councillor Parker. Seconder? I'll let Councillor Coetzee, it's closer to her ward, to second it. Councillor Parker, would you like to speak to this?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to support administration's recommendation, and thank you, Mr Storrs, for your additions. Presently, antisocial behaviour is rife throughout the city. Realistically, installing permanent CCTV cameras to all hotspots is not possible, and simply adding these residents' requests to a growing list is not a solution. As a councillor, I am a huge supporter of all initiatives that will ensure a safer city for all residents. Technology exists that can make this happen. Residents can now have a simple and affordable CCTV system installed to their home. Once done, the resident registers the information on the police database, and when there is an incident, the police will call for resident CCTV footage available in the area. This information is admissible in court, and there are already cases where this technology has been used very successfully. While administration will continue with regular patrols, mobile CCTV locations, and accessing grant funding, education and information to all residents, that through collaboration with private individuals, business and the police, the city can be a safer place for everyone must be a priority. I wholeheartedly support the CCTV rebate program, which will support the installation of private CCTV systems throughout the city. Community safety is and must continue to be a priority in the city. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. Councillor Coetzee, would you like to speak to this item?
Is it working? Yeah. I don't really have anything more to say. I think Councillor Parker has covered everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coetzee. Do I have any speakers against this item? Yes, Councillor Berry.
It's not really against. I just want to make a comment. Thank you, admin, for the report. It would be really lovely if it could be brought forward.
Thank you, Councillor Berry. This was a speak against. It's not an opportunity to give an opinion. So if you want to speak against the item, that's fine. But this is not statement time. So do you want to speak against the item? Okay. If there's no one to speak against the item, councillors, please cast your vote. Passed unanimously. We move on to CP 05-723, the new CAT local law. I have a mover for this, Councillor Rowe, a seconder for this item. Seconder for the Councillor Rowe, Councillor Smith. Councillor Rowe, would you like to speak to this item?
No, I don't. It'll be brief, and when I say it, I actually mean it. First and foremost, I do acknowledge the work of the administration in tabling this item for consideration at the Walga North Metro Zone. So that's a review or advocacy for a review of the CAT Act 2011. I think administration's been quite clear with us that the Act itself is restricted and limited in the powers that it gives.
Councillor Huntley, excuse me, Councillor Rowe. Councillor Huntley, will you stop holding conversations while Councillor Rowe is speaking and offer the councillor the respect of him speaking to this item and listening to him? Thank you, Councillor Huntley.
And I think that is an important thing to have that discussion. So if I can just request that advocacy from our zone delegates who will be going to that meeting to bear in mind the feedback that's come through from our residents and from our council to try and strengthen the CAT Act and give more powers to local governments, because we've seen time and time again local laws that are more ambitious in nature being disallowed by the Joint Standing Committee on Delegated Legislation. As part of our comms and our wider communication around CAT registration, I do think it's important that we advise residents what the powers and the limitations are of rangers. I think that's not overly clear, even if it is available on a web page. And then to look into potential collaborations with Cat Haven and other organisations. I think it's clear that while this particular local law, if approved, would try and restrict the movement of nuisance cats, particularly in wildlife areas, we need to be focused also on registration, spaying, neutering, things like that, that stop the proliferation of cats, particularly in our streets and in our neighbourhoods. That's been feedback that's come through clearly from residents. So noting all those points, I'm supportive of the recommendation, and I would encourage councillors to provide that same support. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Rowe. Councillor Smith, would you like to speak to this item?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to follow on from Councillor Rowe's comments, from the research that we've done from constituents in our area, including cat owners, including myself, we are overwhelmingly supportive of being able to make more restrictive policy than what we can actually do tonight because of the CAT Act, and we are not alone in this in terms of our area. There are many different jurisdictions or shires or areas across WA that want to do that as well. So I second the call for our delegates to represent that to Walga, to our state government. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Do you have a question, Councillor Savitten?
Just to...
Is it a question? It has to be a question.
No, it's to do with Walga, that's all.
No, we can't accept it. Has to be a question. Do I have any speakers against this item? If I have no speakers against this item, councillors, please cast your vote. And that was passed unanimously. So we now go to corporate strategy and performance, and I intend to move the two items under transactional finance en bloc. Do I have a mover for this? Deputy Mayor Treby. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Huntley. Deputy Mayor Treby, would you like to speak to this item?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the reports speak for themselves.
Councillor Huntley, would you like to speak to this item?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, I agree with Deputy Mayor Treby, and your reports speak for themselves.
Thank you, Councillor Huntley. Do I have any speakers against this item? If I have no speakers against this item, councillors, please cast your vote. One against, and that was Councillor Miles, and I have 10 supporting it. We now go to Governance and Legal, CEO 1723, request for the extension of council policies. Do I have a mover for this item? Councillor Civic. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Herridge. Councillor Civic, would you like to speak to this item?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Only to really say that administration require more time to tidy up the policies, and I have no hesitation in supporting their request. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Civic. And Councillor Herridge, do you wish to speak to this item?
No, thanks, Mayor.
Do I have any speakers against? If I have no speakers against this item, councillors, please cast your vote. And that was passed unanimously. We now go to item 9, motions on notice. And the first motion on notice is by myself. It's about the provision of safe pedestrian crossing facilities by Main Roads WA, Marmion Avenue at Shorehaven Boulevard and Santorini Promenade. And I have a seconder for this, which is Councillor Coetzee. These two intersections, what's happened over the years, we've had new schools put there. We've got Shorehaven Primary School up near Shorehaven, and then we have North Shore Christian College. So we have kids going from the east to the west of Marmion Avenue, from the west to the east of Marmion Avenue. And as the speed limit is quite high and it comes around a bend, we have young children crossing the road at a very unsafe situation. They're not easily seen. They're taking their risk as they walk across. And we encourage them to walk to and from school, particularly as Shorehaven is a very new school, and as the population grows, there will be more children using it. So I think it's important that we advocate for safe school crossing at that situation. It's long overdue, and an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Looking forward down to Santorini Boulevard, where we now have Alkimos College that wasn't there a few years ago, we have a lot of students crossing Marmion Avenue, which is very busy and congested at that place, and there is no safe pedestrian access for them to cross from the college to the western side of Marmion Avenue, and it is imperative that we have safe crossing. And there are new schools planned to be built in that area, with Development WA just south of Shorehaven on the eastern side developing their land there for more houses, and the pressure will only increase. There is the potential of a road being built to cross Marmion Avenue to access the freeway extension further, just south of Shorehaven, but that freeway extension is nowhere near planned, and that's a long wait to have signalled access to cross there at the Shorehaven intersection where the kids are crossing. So we need to get in now while our kids are crossing before, we don't know how many years before we'll get that signalised crossing up there, and we haven't even got a signalised crossing at Santorini Road. The risk is now for our children. It's not in 10 years' time. The risk is now for our children as they are crossing at these two intersections across a very, very busy road. And I ask that my fellow councillors support this motion on notice. Councillor Coetzee, would you like to speak to this?
Thank you, yes. Thank you, Mayor Aiken, for putting this motion forward. It is such a significant pedestrian safety issue being experienced by the Alkimos community at the intersections of Shorehaven Boulevard and Santorini Promenade on Marmion Avenue. As a resident of Yanchep and a North Ward councillor, I use Marmion Avenue many times every day. As we all know, the North Ward is a very newly developed area, and lots of development is still happening there. Marmion Avenue is a busy high-speed 70 to 80 kilometres an hour from the east and west sides of Alkimos, and there are schools on both sides. During peak times, many school children are crossing Marmion Avenue on those areas. Not just school children, but also people using the buses as well. Councillor Baker and I are receiving many phone calls, emails, and are being stopped in shopping centres about the safety problem on Marmion Avenue at these areas in Alkimos. When the issue arises between Councillor Baker and me, he always says, that stretch of road is a potential death trap and wait for an accident to happen. We have submitted many CRMs and have spoken to the relevant people on this matter. We need administration to work with Main Roads WA to develop a suitable solution for the upgrade on pedestrian crossings on Marmion Avenue, adjacent to the intersections of Shorehaven Boulevard and Santorini Promenade. Unfortunately, things take time, and I ask all vehicle drivers, please take it slow, especially in those areas. To parents, please tell your children crossing Marmion Avenue, look and observe to ensure that it is safe to cross the road and not to take a chance. It's not worth it. Safety should be our number one priority, and I ask my fellow councillors to support this motion, as I think that no one of us would like an accident to happen there at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coetzee. Do I have any speakers against this motion on notice? Yes, Councillor Miles, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And I guess it's a question probably would go through to infrastructure. The City of Joondalup has a proper crossing level at around about just by Kinross there on Marmion Avenue. Is this the sort of crossing that we're looking for at Santorini, remembering it was only 18 months or so ago that a young boy was killed on that particular intersection or near that intersection. So is that what we're looking for or requesting from Main Roads?
Thank you, Councillor Miles. Mr Singh.
And thank you, Mayor. We are in consultation with Main Roads. As council members will be aware, Marmion Avenue is now under the care and control of Main Roads WA. So we are having regular consultations with them. They're looking at number of options, what's going to work best in that stretch of the road. As has been mentioned earlier, there is a bend in the road near Shorehaven Boulevard and speed is 80 at that particular section. So Main Roads have to consider whether there could be a signalized crossing, could be a new traffic signals if the new road comes through, or some other kind of treatment similar to what has been mentioned at Kinross. So they haven't finalized anything yet. They are working through the options. The indications from them are that they probably will have narrowed down an option by the end of this calendar year.
Thank you, Mr Singh. You have another question, Councillor Miles?
Yeah, just thank you, Mayor. I guess my other question is, in the recommendation 3, you're asking Council to support your writing to the Minister for Transport and the Member for Butler, Mr Quigley. Have you had any conversations with the Member for Butler's office at all? As I understand from last week, they are already doing some sort of a petition for Shorehaven. Have you been involved in that as well?
I've been speaking with the community, thank you, Councillor Miles, and the community have asked me and I have suggested some ways of managing and getting more effective results from the local member and from the state government in that situation. Mr Singh, would you like to speak to that at all?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. No, I'm not aware of any petition being circulated for that particular purpose. From my recollection, I think we may have received a member's question as well from member for Butler, and we responded to as like many other CRMs we received.
Thank you, Mr Singh. Yes, Councillor Civic, do you have a question?
Yeah, yes, thank you, Mayor. My question is on funding. Because this is a Main Roads jurisdiction area, funding for this will, I know you'll be writing to the Minister, etc. We're anticipating that Main Roads or the state government may fund these crossings. Yes? Yeah. Thank you.
Mr CEO answered.
Yes, I'm sure that's the council's expectation.
Thank you, Councillor Svitten. Do I have any speakers against this motion on notice? If I have no speakers against this motion on notice, councillors, please cast your vote. and that was passed unanimously. I have a second motion on notice this evening, and that is MN 020723 from Councillor Rowe about the undergrounding of power at Girraween, Marangaroo and surrounding areas. I've had a lot of complaints about this from the residents, and Councillor Rowe, would you like to speak to this item, and do you have a seconder, Deputy Mayor Treby? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. It is a pleasure to present my first motion on notice in this place. So I thank Council for your consideration of this. It is the result of a significant number of power outages in recent months in the postcode 6064, which covers Girraween, Marangaroo, Alexander Heights and Kundoola, which is the entirety of the South Ward. To be precise, it is 5 power outages in 6 months in the suburb of Girraween alone. As Council would know, the opportunity to apply for compensation from Western Power is limited to extreme cases, and while power may only be off for several hours at a time, the cumulative effect is frustrating. People are unable to host friends or family for dinner. They're unable to complete work or study for hours at a time unless they use their own data on their phone, which is expensive, or have to travel to other locations, which is inconvenient. While 1 or 2 outages a year are to be expected, 5 in 6 months raises questions about the reliability of the grid and the age and the quality of the power infrastructure. I'm going to make this point very clearly. A person's postcode or the age of their suburb should not lead to a lower quality living experience for the residents. And we are currently undertaking a livability survey in Wanneroo, and I think surely access to a reliable electricity network is one of the basic necessities we expect in life. This motion should not be controversial, as it does not require the city to expend any funds. It is an advocacy motion designed to ensure that councillors are equipped with all necessary information about the state government's new Targeted Underground Power Program, known as TUP. As councillors, we should always be willing to consider new and innovative ideas, particularly when so many other local governments are participating in this program, and the names of those local governments are referenced in the report. There are many of them, and they are diverse in terms of their background. The council resolution objecting to the previous program, which was known as SUP, for cost reasons, is more than 13 years old. So it is opportune to reconsider our position. To do so, as a council, I believe we need clear information about the cost implications, risks and benefits associated with the TUP program, data about the number of power outages in Girraween, Marangaroo, Alexander Heights and Kundoola compared to power failures in suburbs that already have underground power infrastructure, and advocacy from the city to both the Minister for Energy and Western Power, standing alongside our residents from the 6064 postcode who have been negatively impacted by these power issues for many, many years. A report will be presented to a council forum if this motion is successful by April 2024, allowing sufficient time to collect all of the necessary data, receive responses from government agencies, and then I believe council would be well equipped to make an informed decision on participation in this program. I ask for council's consideration and support. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Rowe. Deputy Mayor Treby, would you like to speak to this item?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'll be brief. And like Councillor Rowe said, I actually do mean it this time. Can I just congratulate Councillor Rowe for bringing this motion to Council? It is true that there have been numerous power outages in the 6064 area over the past 12 months, greater than usual. And that's even saying something from being at such a high level historically as well. And it is a feature of ageing infrastructure. And it's probably also fair to say, and I think the postcode should not dictate one's rights to actually having good, solid, reliable power supply. It's not a privilege. And God knows we pay a lot of money for power. It's a right, and we should all expect the right equally, no matter where we live, to enjoy that uninterrupted provision of power. It is noteworthy to say that of the local government areas that would be in a similar location to the city of Wanneroo within proximity to the CBD and age of suburbs and infrastructure also include the city of Swan, City of Mundaring, City of Rockingham and the City of Mandurah. Wanneroo does not feature, and frankly that's an indictment of this program. We should be doing all we can for our residents, and we should be advocating for that because, again, access to power that we pay an enormous amount of money for is not a privilege, it's a right, and we should expect no less. So I think this motion on notice is well timed, well considered, and again I congratulate Councillor Rowe on presenting it and speaking it to it so articulately.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Treby. Do you have a question, Councillor Savitten?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. While I concur with Councillor Rowe, my question is to the Director of Planning and or the Director of Assets. The fact that this area is now being touted as a redevelopment area and the codings have all changed, is it not automatic that Western Power would look at this area as the plot ratios change and the new developments are created, the blocks are split, etc.? It would be automatic for Western Power to revert to underground power as part of what they should be doing to make sure that this area is updated to provide proper power.
Thank you, Councillor Savitten. Mr Singh.
Thank you, Mayor. That's not my understanding. I think Western Power will consider the needs of the network as part of the asset renewal infrastructure. As part of that one, when it's needed, they'll schedule according to that one. Or if there's a demand issue, then they may need to provide additional infrastructure there.
Mr Dixon, do you have anything further to add to that item? No. Do I have any speakers against this item? If I have no speakers against the motion on notice, councillors, please cast your vote. And that was passed unanimously. Item 10, urgent business, we have none. Item 11, confidential reports. So we will need a mover and seconder to go behind closed doors. Confidential reports are to be discussed behind closed doors. All recordings must be ceased and members of the public exit the chambers and the chambers doors must be closed. Do I have a mover to go behind closed doors? Councillor Huntley. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Savitten. Okay, councillors, cast your vote. Carried unanimously. Thank you. If we could just go into confidential. Okay, and the doors are open at 7:16 p.m. And as far as item CRO 10723, that was moved by Councillor Civic and seconded by Councillor Strebe, and it was passed unanimously. And the recommendation is that Council approves the acquisition of 246 Lot 102 Mary Street, Wanneroo, identified in the administration report from Fern Farm Holdings Proprietary Limited, ACN 088 153824, at the agreed amount to be funded from the Strategic Land Reserve, and 2, authorises A, the Chief Executive Officer or a nominee of the Chief Executive Officer to 1, execute all documentation, 2, sign off on the satisfaction of any special conditions, and 3, comply with all applicable legislation as is required to effect item 1 above, and B, the Mayor and the Chief Executive Officer to affix the common seal of the City of Wanneroo to the transfer of land documentation for the purchase of proposed 246 Lot 102 Mary Street, Wanneroo, in accordance with the City of Wanneroo's execution of documents policy. And for item CR 020723, staff matters, was moved Mayor Aitken, seconded Deputy Mayor Treby, and passed unanimously. And the recommendation is that Council appoint by absolute majority Nolene Jennings to the position of Acting Chief Executive Officer, commencing from 21st of September 2023 until the Chief Executive Officer commences with the City, but not exceeding a period of 6 months. Item 12, the date of the next meeting. The next special council meeting has been scheduled for 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday the 1st of August 2023 to be held at Council Chambers, Civic Centre, 23 Dundebar Road, Wanneroo. Item 13, closure. I now declare the meeting closed at 7:19. Thank you, councillors.